Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, yeah, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. If it's 4 o'clock on the East Coast here, it is On Point, and with me are some of the great minds in the talk show business. You can go up and come down. This is where it's at. If you are not here, you are missing out on intellect, information, gossip. We are here to set the record straight. Wherever your gossip comes from, we will straighten it out. Wherever there's a news, there's king in the news, we will straighten it out. Let me go to my brother from the nation's capital. He just returned from Liberia. He looking fresh, looking well rested. My co-host, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. How you doing there, sir?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I see my red eyeball and I see plenty of things. But anyway, I'm glad to be here with these young, energetic gentlemen. I know they bring good conversation. So let's start the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Towell. How is Houston? How's the family? Houston, do we have any problem in Houston?
Not right now. Texas still trying to see if they can break away, but we'll see. But no, guys, I'm glad to be here, and hello to our viewers. I'm glad to be here today. There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot going on in Liberia, and I'm glad to be here to be part of it.
Great, and we have to appreciate Dr. Booty. He is across the pond. He's across the ocean in London or in the UK somewhere. He's staying up late to participate here. So please do us a favor: share this show. Make your comments. We're gonna read your comments. We're gonna take some calls. Dr. Booty, welcome.
The way you say it somewhere in the UK, like sitting out, what's out? I ain't got nowhere to sit.
You are stateless.
No. It's great to be here as always. Just to say, I'm not too happy today, but congratulations to Liverpool for winning the title. Even though as an Arsenal fan, I'm devastated. But great to be here as always, and looking forward to a good show.
Great. I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm hoping that we're making the top 5 or top 4, but it was a disappointing season for us as well. Mr. Anthony Gay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yes, indeed. Hopefully we'll make it to the top 5 for, like you regularly said. I'm a Chelsea fan too, so you and I have something in common.
Oh, but, okay. Welcome to CMC.
Yeah, I have one club in soccer in Europe, one club thing in basketball in America, just like that. Chelsea, Lakers here in America. So I don't jump from team to team. I'm very loyal, whether or not winning. I've been a Lakers fan since 1996. So
Very good. Thank you very
They
much.
say welcome to CMC.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
he didn't say anything. Why you say this? What is it? Silent mean consent. The man didn't say anything, so you
No,
know
no, no,
what
that's
it
not
is.
true. I
Mr.
have
Gay,
always said, and I will say,
Mr. Gay, you gotta see that. Don't worry, so you're part of the family. We're all part of the seed.
let me say this, right? And I will say it clearly. I remain a member of the ANC. That's it. No other political party.
Okay.
If I decide not to be in politics any longer, I will not join another political party.
Okay, so you are. It was good to see the CNC, ANC, CDC, all the C's coming together to fight.
I like the fact that all opposition decided to come together for one purpose and one purpose only: uphold the rule of law, respect the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. Yes, every Liberian should be a respecter of the Constitution of the rule of law. I expect everyone, not just opposition, but even the ruling party, even those who are not into politics as well, should respect the rule of law.
Mr. Gamer, you heard him say it here, right? He's never going to join another political party. So the day the man cross carpet will play that track.
Yeah?
Play.
Never belong to God.
There you
Exactly.
go. You see,
Well,
he's not
okay, let me take that back. I have no intention of joining another political
there
party.
you go. There
He
you
tell the
go.
politician straight. He tell the politician straight.
I have no intention of joining another political party.
You gotta leave room to weaker out. It's all
That's
right.
why I just said I have
Exactly.
no intention of joining another
Because
political party.
policies can change, trajectories can change, and you might have to move as a result.
That's correct.
Yes, what I'm looking at as a young man in my prime, because I'm in my prime now. There's no another future for me. I'm living my future at this moment.
Compared to Joseph Walker, we are young.
And here's what I want to say. And I want to use a Bible analogy here. God told
Lord.
Abraham to leave where he was, very comfortable, to go to an unknown destination. Sometimes as a leader or as a person who want to make a change, you don't always have to align with the status quo. You don't always have to be with the same group of people to make a change or make an impact in your country. And I think at times we always say, oh, you got to sit on an old mat and plant a new one. It does not apply to every scenario. What is happening today in Liberia, we need to stand up to the circumstances and move forward, because we will continue to justify bad behavior and continue to be the worst in the region. Our situation is not just unique to us, but the only way this will change, unless we muster the courage, where we will lose friends, we will lose family members who don't want to associate with us, but we'll do the right thing, and tomorrow they will come back. Even if they don't praise us in our present, they will praise us in our absence.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, guys. Appreciate the show in your groups, in your chat room, families and friends. I'm doing it as we speak. If we all share it, we'll have enough minds. Remember, nobody have exclusive right to knowledge and information. So information that we get from our chat room, from the comments, we incorporate that into what we are doing, because it's all about current event. What is happening on the ground, like it or not, if it affects you, it affects everybody else, because we are all interconnected. So if you think because you are in power and you are saying, I was listening to one of the government officials the last time by the name of Mo Ali, when he says, somebody said this is not good for the republic. Foreign investor, nobody wants to invest in a country where there's chaos, where there's no rule of law. And he said, let them stay away with their investment. This is a man, I asked him the question, are you really a Liberian? And somebody said, that might be little below the belt. But I don't think that was below the belt. If you are a Liberian and you have nowhere else to go, like we all are here, you would never say, let the investor pack their clothes and leave, let them stay away, leave our country with us. It has to be someone who has another place that they can go when things get rough. whether his father is from Pakistan or India, wherever it is, he has a place to go. Anthony Gay has nowhere to go but Grand Gita. Akabuli got nowhere to go but, I guess, Maryland County. Tabo got nowhere to go but Grand Bassa.
No. Sano, please correct that.
Mr. Jimmy Eastman had 2 places to go, Grand Bassa or Riverside, so he's all set.
But he's the same place, Grand Bazaar, Riverside.
Yeah, you can't leave. But if your father is from Pakistan or India or somewhere else like some of these guys, yes, they come to our country to harvest and take the loot home. Well, we're coming to that, but ladies and gentlemen, we are here, share this show, get involved, let's talk. Mr. Eastman, we are talking about current event. You just came from Liberia. You and I were just in Liberia, and we saw what happened, what is going on there. You and I saw poverty. You and I drove around, and tears were almost came from our eyes to see our city. Our capital city is in such a dire strait. People are walking around like zombies. There's no jobs. Family, fathers who got children, they got families, got wives, got children, cannot support their family. So here we are in a quagmire. So let's start with, first of all, let's start with what's going on in our electoral system, right? In our electoral system, there are laws, there are rules, there are ethical issues to deal with. We saw everything that we say undemocratic went on in Nimba County. Let's talk about the Nimba election, Mr. Eastman. What is your take
Well,
on the Nimba election? Everything that happened, especially the more dangerous piece, the tribal politics. That's the one of all the things that happened. That's the one that pricks me. Your take.
okay, you know, I love that saying that all politics is local. What does that refer to? Is that you have to appeal to the local sentiments, the local mentality, if you're going to be successful in politics. It's just so happened that this time around, we are still seeing people using tribal affinity to decide who they will elect instead of merit. It's unfortunate, but that is the situation. We will have to evolve to a people that we will look at each person's track record and their stance on issues, and that is how we will vote. But we have not reached that level. We are at the level that if you have significant amount of money, you can buy yourself into people's hearts. You can give somebody a bag of rice. You can give somebody school fees. You can give somebody, and you mentioned when we're driving around, job business is one of the most critical things in our place today. We have university graduates, very astute young men and women. I was with a nurse the other day, a registered nurse, but no job. Can you imagine? Not even in the medical field, which is a highly desirable field for our needs. You still can't find a job. So if you can promise these things, you will understand why people vote for certain people. Now, it may be counterintuitive because at the end of the day, you have elected somebody based on what they gave you instead of what they can do. So if they don't do anything, you can't blame anybody but yourself. What can the election commission do? What kind of awareness that the civic society do to bring about more awareness to our population? I think we need to expose ourselves. I say expose other people expose ourselves to ourselves. This is how we think, and this is the result of how we think and what we do, and this is where it's going to lead us. If you elect a person not based on what they can do or merit, or based on their tribal affinity, or based on how they line your pocket, tomorrow, if they don't do well, you have nothing to hold them to, because had you vote for what they could do, what their merits show, then you can say you didn't meet up to our expectations. But when you vote on different lines, you have sort of capitulated in their future criticism for those individuals. So we have to change our whole mindset. I'll leave it right there.
Great. Mr. Tao, we are in Nimba County, and of all people, the governor, the chief executive, the highest ranking executive in the county, the superintendent, told her folks, we are Gil people, we have to vote for Gil because tribalism, our tribe, trumps gender issue, economic issue, health issue, education. A woman saying this, that our tribal lineage trumps all else. Mr. Tao.
Okay, so look at what happened here. I think I approach this stuff from a completely different perspective, right? Everything that we are seeing, that is how the democracy that we are giving to practice, that's how it works. It's a very divisive and porous and corrupt system. It is corrupt. Me and you, we are here in this country. One man, Elon Musk, stood up and gave almost $300 million to the president. And then when he got elected, what happened? He was appointed to a special area and getting paid for it, getting all kinds of contracts. All of a sudden, the Pentagon is going to buy Tesla trucks. Democracy is a business. I've been saying it here. So the tribal politics that we keep talking about, I don't know why we highlight this so much. What is the difference between tribal politics and party politics? What is the difference? Party politics is what is used to elevate and magnify tribal politics. In the tribal setting, we don't have that kind of politics. But the same people practicing party politics take that to the level on the tribal basis and manipulating our people. How many people have, if we call tribal politics the most dangerous? Let me ask a question. How many people in Liberia have gotten killed based on party politics? Since the elections been going on, how many places have been set on fire in public based on tribal politics? Never. It's the party politics that lead to the death of people. What happened if the superintendent have said that nobody should vote for anybody because we are all CDC? In Nimba, CDC is the one that is here, like they do it here in the US. The governor will go and campaign for the candidate and say there's a democratic state. So all the very same thing is what playing out. So if we have problem with that, then we should look at the form of governing, the governing system that they gave us, the democracy, and look at and say, hey, look, this is not going to work for us, or maybe this is not the way we should practice this. But I think we are leaving out where the actual problem is. The tribal politics that is going on is a result of party politics. And party politics is the one that is exacerbating the whole tribal stuff that doesn't even exist on our level. And that is what I'm seeing.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Booty, a different take here. What's the difference between the lady saying Gil people should vote for only Gil people, and I'm saying, like in this country, Black people, when they hear that you are a Republican, they go nuts and say, I can't believe, Mr. Gaiman, you are a registered Republican. You got to be crazy. Something is wrong with you. So what's the difference between people calling me names for having a different choice and the woman calling her tribe or tribal men and women to stick together? What's wrong with that?
Well, there's a big difference, and I disagree, as I do almost every show. with Mr. Tao, because parties established based on policies and principles or policy ideas, right? So every political party has a different policy idea in terms of how they think the country can be fixed. Tribalism is just tribalism. That's pretty much what it is. She didn't come and say vote for the Gio man because the Gio men know how to do better in Nima County. She said vote for him because we are Gio people, not because of the policies. If she was talking about a party, she would have said vote for the CDC because the CDC will do A, B, and C and D. Vote for the United Party. So there's a huge difference, right? And I was surprised as well when I heard that you were a registered Republican, even though I don't live in the US. But that is your prerogative, whatever it is you want to do, what you believe in, and I'm sure there's a good reason why you support the Republican Party. There are some principles of the Republican Party that I align with, in terms of small government and things like that. But at the same time, I think when it comes to catering to the needs of the people, we need to focus. Look, I said this last week, and I think you were in transit back from Manchester, and it was great seeing you in person in Manchester last weekend. We had a really good time. I said this on the show last week. Look, at the end of the day, this is not going to end well. Right? This tribal politics that we're doing is not going to end well. Unfortunately, or fortunately to some degree, this does not happen in every county in Liberia because some counties are more polarized. So Montserrat, Magidi, and other places are more polarized than Nimba County. But at the end of the day, I cringed a little bit when I heard, because she said it was basically, what she said was tribe trumps gender, right? She wasn't talking about parties. She said tribe trumps gender, as in don't vote for her because she's a woman, vote for a Gio person, right? So the tribe first and then gender second. So she was basically saying, because I'm a woman, I'm not going to say vote for a woman. I'm a Gio woman. I want you to vote for a Gio person. I think it's wrong. But as I pointed out last time, the MDR is a very strong political party in Nimba County. Right? The MDR has won 4 now, if you add Koga, of the last 4 senatorial elections in Nimba County. That's not by chance. That's because they have a strong system or mechanism in place that lets them to function as they have. Even Senator Twine, who is not from the MDR, but his winning was because he was endorsed by Prince Johnson of the MDR. So the MDR voted for Prince Johnson. The MDR elected Jeremiah Kuhn. The MDR has now elected Koga. So I think it's more the party than the tribe that is having, or it can be a combination of both, right? But I think the party, we shouldn't, like Brentford would say, don't sleep on them. We shouldn't sleep on the MDR as having such a stronghold in Nimba County.
Yep. Real quick before I go to Mr. Gay here, if the MDR was so strong, how come they won the election by 51% to 49%?
Well, the thing is, you have to understand that one of the strengths of the MDR was Prince Johnson. That was one of their strengths, right? And the fact that he is not there anymore has made them a bit diminished in terms of their power. But it doesn't take away from what I said is they won the election, not by what margin. Clearly, they still have the strength, which is why they won it. Even if they won it by 1 vote, they won. So, and that is what I'm focusing on, the fact that they've won 3 out of 4, and the 4th one, which is Senator Yandi Twine, was endorsed by the MDR, which I believe contributed to him winning the election as well. So the party, I'm just pointing out the fact that we can't leave that out of the analogy, that the party performances over the last few elections when it comes to senators has been quite significant in terms of electing senators in Nimba County.
Great. Anthony Gay, we were in the UK and an expert from one of the universities came to speak, and he analyzed the Liberian politics, and he said, if you actually want to run for office in Liberia, if you didn't know anywhere to go, the place where you will go and find that they are less tribalistic, they perform based on who you are, whether they like you, whether you are a decent person. He says only in is a Grand Bassa County is the county, whether you're from Bond County, you're from Lofa, if they like you, you will be elected. And he gives, and I give such an example. When he said that, the light bulb went because we got a guy by the, we got elected by the name of Ato Flomo. One of his parents came from Bong. Before that, we elected Mr. Siawe. Siawe, one of his parents came from Nima. I think we had elected somebody with a Fantine lineage. So he was right to that degree. You never go to Grand Bassa County and you will never hear people say, vote for this person because the person is Bassa and don't vote for that person. Mr. Gay, if we all follow this trend, this is tribal warfare.
Mr. Gaiman, the sad thing about the just ended by election in Nima County is that the dishonesty and hypocritical analogies that were made during the campaign was just so sad. On one end, you hear people talking about, oh, we have to have a balance of power. We have to have one Mono senator and one Geo senator. In the same token of saying that, we have had 2 Geo senators and we didn't hear this. Even currently, there are 9 electoral seats in Nima County, 9 electoral districts in Nima County, and 11 electoral seats in Nima County. If you count those 11 electoral seats, I think only 3 of them are representative seats, and the other one of them is a senatorial seat. So it does not balance out still. And then let's look at the government. This government currently allocated 2 ministerial seats to Nima County, both of them occupied by the Geo tribe. So you see the hypocrisy right there. They are not talking about balance of power. Everywhere of the equation you place this thing is still unbalanced. So they are not honest. Even the historical analysis that the current Senator Yan Twan gave on Spoon Talk, who was most recent before the election, was full of flaws because he did not honestly present a clear argument that balanced his position for which he was advocating for. Another thing, none of the current representatives from Nima County is a female. None of them. So apart from the tribal thing, there's a gender effect also happening in the county. They have well-educated females in Nima County. But because of that tribal thing, in their tradition, women should not even amount to power. So even though there is a consensus that at least 30% of the Liberian legislature should be female, Nima County is one county that is not even considering that. For me, this whole tribal thing can be addressed in aspect wherein the country is creating opportunity for the youth to have employment. Look, these things can only live for long if they continue to deprive the regular people. If regular people don't have job for themselves, can't put food on the table for themselves, can't make decisions for themselves, these things will continue to hold the people the way they hold them. But when people can afford for themselves, then they start to think for themselves. Poverty has the ability to diminish one's ability to rationally.
Frozen.
Poor, you don't think right. When you poor, you don't think things through. You just wait for the next opportunity and the next opportunity and the next opportunity. You don't take your time to analyze things. You don't take your time to have a deep thinking of things when you are poor. So poverty is the machinery that they are using. They control the mindset of the people. That's the reason why they are not talking about, oh, we're going to sit on the table and look at this concession and say, hey, in order for you to dig our iron ore, we must have a processing plant where we can hire more people. The Liberian government is supposed to be supplying electricity to ArcelorMittal Steel instead of ArcelorMittal Steel building their own power plant. Why? Because when ArcelorMittal Steel is paying the Liberian Electric Corporation bill we will be able to generate more money also to supply other area of electricity. They're not doing those things. Again, keep the people where they are. Continue to suppress the people so they don't think for themselves. All of these things is deliberate. It is a deliberate act that keep the people to where they are. They don't want the people to get out of that mindset of begging for survival. So they will use the cliche, oh, it's our tribal thing. It's our tribal thing. We have other countries that have deep tribal history. Do you think Liberia have more deeper tribal tradition than Burkina Faso? I live among Mosi people. At one point, I used to speak the Mosi dialect. I mean, fluently. Have a conversation among people. I can only not understand it because it's been over 20 years since I left Ivory Coast. But I live among the people. And so their culture, the Mosi people are just like the Yoruba people from Nigeria and Benin, right? They have a very rich culture, more than Liberia. But they do things differently than Liberia because they understand giving opportunity to the next person. In Liberia, we must suppress everyone. Now they have a leader that is giving everyone an opportunity to see how they are rallying around that leader. In Liberia, it's not the case. So long you want to bring somebody that will rally the people, they cut out of the opportunity that will link up to that person being a person. It is the way of keeping the people down. This is a deliberate act, but they're hiding behind tradition to say, oh, our tradition say our tradition. No, they don't want you to. I'm from from Grand Jude. As a young man, you never can express your feeling to the other person according to tradition. Whatever they do to you, you have to zip it. That's it. Whether you right or wrong, you must zip it.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Dukley here. Mr. Dukley, he said it is a combination of everything, including economics. Well, if you're in a country that is so poor and your tribal man is in power and has the ability to recommend people to send you places to make you move up the ladder, the superintendent is saying our best bet as Geo people is for us to retain power. It is how we can make our living. We can do the recommendations and all of that. What's wrong with that?
Well, Mr. Gaiman, there's a lot wrong with that. A lot. I just wanted to reflect on something Dr. Budi said earlier, and I think he was dead on. This is a time bomb that the people of Nimba are setting themselves up to. And when it explodes, it's not going to, it's going to have a very devastating aftermath. And, you know, someone said, you know, our politics is not based on issues. Name me more than 5 countries in the sub-region or in Africa in general in which the elections are not based on tribe or ethnicity. And I'm not saying there are not, but there are not many countries in the continent that can say our politics is not based on ethnicity or it's not based on tribalism. So with that said, what you saw happen in Nimba is the continuation of the seeds Mr. Prince Johnson planted in that county. It was on that basis that the people of Nimba who were involved in the war, that was the mindset they had. We are the victim here. We need to fight for ourselves. If we don't, we are going to be done with by other ethnic group, etc. And so the Mandingos in Nimba, they are not any less Nimbayan than the Giwa and the Manos, or even the Bausa people who are from Nimba County and other minorities. And you saw that in this election, they were all alienated, and all you heard about was the Manos and the Gios, the Manos and the Gios. As if the Manos and the Gios are the only 2 tribes that inhabit that northern county of ours. And so this is just a matter of time before this gets out of hand. And if I don't know, somebody said something on one of the shows before. I mean, when what's his name? Thomas Grupi, from the NUDP, he was there, and Prince Johnson was there, and so when you minus the tribalism aspect of it, what did any of the candidates that they're talking about, what was it that they put to the people for which a non-Geo or a non-Mana could have been attracted to and would have wanted to vote for them? Absolutely nothing. And so what you saw here, it's just the continuation of what we know exists in Neighbor County. So don't be surprised. But you know what? This is going to backfire on Neighbor County. It will be rather sooner or later. But it will backfire because they have set themselves up in a way that as if anything non-Geo is not it doesn't belong in Neighbor County, you know. And so because they're not going to accept, they're not going to be willing to acknowledge anything, even if somebody from the Mano tribe and the Madingo tribe, they're going to go out of their way to make sure that it doesn't happen. And with that mindset, and you know, the common people there, people are trying to survive, and they will do anything if it's going to lead to $1 or $2 in our pockets. They couldn't care less about who is there, who isn't there, as long as and we saw what happened. People were going around. Everything that is said in our election rules and regulation, it was all violated in plain sight, and no one cared to say anything about it. You had other people coming from other counties, other provinces to come and campaign there, which is in a way, illegal in some sense. So, Mr. Gaiman, what you saw the superintendent say, that is what the people who are in charge of Nima County, that is what they have decided to do. That's how they want to do their politicking. And I'm not even sure why are we even discussing this to the level at which we are, because we are not seeing anything new. That we're not seeing anything different. And I just wanted to push back a little bit on Brother Tower here. Look, our body politics is such that we intend to identify with our tribes, but it's not the party politics that does that. If anything, I would say it's the opposite. It's the other way around. It's the tribal politics that lead us to the way we do politics at the party politics, because we relate more to one of our own than the party and the party platform. I mean, and you and I know that whatever these parties present is just for the consumption of their followers until election day. Once election day is over, they couldn't care less what happens beyond that. So what you saw the superintendent say is exactly what the people in charge of that county, that's what they wanted, that's how they wanted, and it's not going to end well.
Thank you.
Mr. Gimme.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So look at what happened here. I don't know what is it that you guys are agreeing with. Disagreeing with, and I don't mind being disagreed with, because everybody here know for Dr. Booty to say that in party politics they state a way that they will move the country forward, but in tribalism it's like there is no value, there is nothing. It is not true. You think the politics that you are practicing, what is it? That is a tribal politics. You think when you hear conservative, what that is? Those are derivatives of the tribes in Western civilization. When you hear about rednecks here and they're voting for that, what do you think that is? When you talk about Western democracy, you are talking about tyranny of the majority. So the Madingos can cry all they want to cry in Nimba, or the few bastards that are they can cry all they want to cry. The political system you have said numbers decide. Tyranny of the majority. It is not whether they are wrong or they're right. That is the political system you have. That is the problem. So for you to say that, they later said that when it comes to tribal politics, it trump gender. and you're saying that is nonsense. It's because you don't even understand or try to at least take the time to understand the tribal aspect of things, because we're supposed to be educated, so we want to de-Africanize ourselves. Is to make the assumption what they're saying here is that within the tribe, they already dealt with the gender issue. They have a way that they deal with gender. What you are trying to propose that is a feminism, for which they send you to your own people and say, go over there and find out that women are being abused for land in the villages and towns which doesn't exist. That you do this, you come back here, I give you a PhD. And you are making the assumption that they don't even have that in that no, the kind of gender issue that you are pushing is counterproductive to the African setting. It's the one that is confrontation. It's not even meant to address any issues. If
But
the West,
Brother Tawa, it shouldn't be like that, though.
No. But listen,
let me respond after Mr. Tawa.
Mr. Tawa, real quick, so we'll move on to the next topic. Go ahead.
Please don't interrupt me. If the West understands so much about gender, why they can't even handle their own gender issue here? You are here and I'm here. This is the country where the women are abused the most. They pretty much make them to be so insecure or overly advertising to them. Your hair got to be like this, body shape. They abuse them. This is something that we don't have. So other women are pretty much almost handicapped with all kinds of self-esteem issues. They need to fix their own stuff. And why when they mention gender, gender is two people. Why each time they mention gender is only about women? Why will you say that one group is being abused, but you want to then use that group to abuse the other one? Like all their males are abused, men are counted for nothing in this country.
Great.
So you don't push that stuff in on us. Let us address our issue with respect to our own perspective and let us find solution in it. Let us start trying to project this thing in there. This is where the destabilizing effect is. Look, the tribal politics that you're talking about, it's easier for you to beat up on the tribe because that is the area that we see that if we talk about that, there was no repercussion. The moment we start to challenge Western narrative of what it means to run a government, then there are repercussions. So since we are all been conditioned and pretty much indoctrinated, we always want to elevate this stuff. The problem you are having is the way the political system is. The political system is divisive. So then it magnifies things on the tribal level. It can easily be used and manipulated.
Thank you.
That is
Dr. Booty.
Dr.
Booty, 30 seconds, so we'll move on to the next topic here.
No, I just want to appeal to Mr. Tao that when we are talking about issues, let's focus on the issues and not start to question people's motivations for qualifications that they obtain, right? Nobody sent me to do my PhD. I woke up, I had an interest, and I went to do it. I didn't go looking for gender issues in Bomi County. When I did the research, when I listened to what the people said, the gender issues came up from what they said to me, right? So let's get that clear. I did not go there to ask, oh, what's the gender issues related to land? No, I went to ask issues about what were their experiences of losing their land. They told me things that communicated a gender dynamics, which is what I reported. So I'm begging you, you don't understand the PhD that I did. I don't think you've read my thesis. You've never read any of my publications. Maybe when you read them, then you can make a more informed decision about my motivations for doing my PhD. I did not get sent by someone. I decided on my own topic that I wanted to research. I applied for funding. I won the grant, and then I went and did my research. That my research then qualified for a PhD is not that I went there looking for gender issues or projected gender mentality. If you read my PhD thesis and look at the number of citations I've made, about 40% of the work that I've cited are Liberians. George Clear, George Bolle, Seguanu, Cyrus Silas Siako, Robtel Paley. I cited people who are Liberians. One of the reasons I did my research was to push back on the Western depiction of our people as victims and passive. And I wanted to show to them, no, the people are reacting from below. They're pushing back against these things. So I'm begging you, don't misrepresent my qualification.
No, okay. Dr. Booty, I think when you were referring to PhD, It referred to all of us who.
Mr. Gamer, you are not paying attention. He
I
said,
know.
I was sent to go and project my gender, the Western gender, and that's not what happened.
Yeah, well, that's true because even we all
That's
get
basically
accused.
belittling my work that I did.
No, Dr. Booty, you're an academic. You work hard for what you. Everybody here worked very hard for their title. They earned it. It was not an honorary, so nobody can belittle that. But yes, guys, let's go to the second part here, which is the biggest elephant in the room here. And in my lifetime in politics in Liberia, I have never seen anything like this. And we're going to be around here and talk about how this game is going to end. We had the Supreme Court, right, made a ruling. The highest authority on law in the country made a ruling last October or December or so. And we said the ruling was very ambiguous. Based on that, the Attorney General, which is Mr. Tue said, well, because they used the word autovirus means that what they did was illegal, blah, blah, blah. He said, since it wasn't clear, he went and interpreted that law as to giving the so-called majority bloc the authority and the executive the authority to run government, do the budget, sign budget, get into contract, and all of that. They did that. Mr. Funati Kofa said, obviously, I am a lawyer and I know exactly what he said. I am going back to the Supreme Court. Said you are confused. I will do a bill of information so the Supreme Court can be as clear as they can. When they talk to everybody agree when the Supreme Court rules, that would be it. It would be the final. Well, last week the Supreme Court did rule. And in fact, in one of her statements, she said, the word majority bloc is nowhere in our jurisprudence, is nowhere in our constitution, it's not mentioned anywhere. So there is no such thing as a minority or majority bloc. And it made it clear that whether you have majority or not, whatever the proceeding is, the duly constitutionally elected speaker should preside. Anything after that is illegal. Dr. Booty, here we are. The Supreme Court has ruled, and the majority bloc turned right around and trashed the Supreme Court, say they are illegal, they have no power, but they turn around and ask for an appeal to go by the exact Supreme Court that they say has no authority, they are illegal, they are compromised. Your take on this, is there anything that you have read about, that you know about, to tell your mother is, I'm leaving the house, you don't have any authority over me, I'm a man of my own, I can take care of myself. 2 days later, you come and say, my head, it ain't easy, can I get back in my room? Your take.
Well, it's more like coming back to the mind and say, Mama, but how can I get to town from here? You know, because you say you won't lead a hustle. How do I get to town? No, anyway, look, I think let me just lay a quick premise, right? So first of all, if you read Article 1 of our Constitution, it says that all power is vested in the people, and the people can freely elect or remove officials in the interest of their safety and happiness. So that's Article 1. Article 3 talks about the separation of power, and the reason that there is the doctrine, because that's some of the things that the majority bloc has mentioned. The reason that there's a doctrine of separation of powers is for checks and balances, right? Checks and balances means each branch is supposed to check the other so that there is a balance, so that no one branch has more control over the country, right? That's the whole principle about checks. So the Supreme Court has the right to check the executive. The Supreme Court has the right to check the legislature if they are going outside the confines of the Constitution. Now, if you read Article 65, it tells you very clearly that the Supreme Court's decision is final and binding. It cannot be reviewed or appealed by any other branch of the Liberian government. Once the Supreme Court says this is it is it. There is no anything after that. But to your point, and you know, and I will come back to why I touched these three articles. To your point, look, these gentlemen are they I need to find the right word. They don't have the capacity, right? We're on TV, so we got to mind our language. They do not have the capacity to be the people that they were elected to. These guys are not legislators, right? These are a bunch of individuals who've gone into the legislature purely because of money. That's all. They only care about making money and enriching themselves. That's why they're there. Because if they understood the reason or the power of the legislature, they wouldn't. How can you say on the 23rd of April, the Supreme Court is overreaching? Right? That's the word we use. Overreaching. The same court that 65 of our Constitution said has the final. They have the judicial powers are vested in the Supreme Court. Right? You said they're overreaching. Their job is to interpret. That's the only job they got. Interpret Constitution. That's all the Supreme Court can do. You write the law, Mr. Legislature. We interpret the law, Mr. Supreme Court or Madam Supreme Court. We have done our job. We've interpreted the law. Article 49 is clear. There must be a presiding officer in the House. He or she must be elected by a simple majority. He or she can only be removed legally by 2/3. If 2/3 did not happen, anything you're doing here is not legal. And then the president come out and say, oh, quorum. Well, where in Article 33 that it says the president shall work with a group of the legislature that has quorum? Ain't that there? There's nowhere in our legislature. The same man, and you know, I wanted to make a joke last week, Mr. Gaming. I'll make that joke now. I wanted to say last week that I don't blame the papi because the part of the Constitution you're supposed to swear to, when that time reached, he fell off. So when he was giving the speech, he did swear to that part. When he reached Article 33 and Article 34, he had fallen off already. So you can't blame him because he swear to that part. That's the only thing I can think about. That he said, oh, but I swear to 33 and 34 and 49. So I fell down. So you can blame me. Because look, it does not make sense. But me, Mr. Gaiman, this is where I'm going to end. A long time ago, our brother Elvis Morris mentioned this. I was on the show on Point, and him and I were on a show on Thursday, and we talked about this. Look, it is up to the people in Liberia. That's why I read Article 1. They're the ones dying from starvation. They're the ones dying from treatable illnesses. They're the ones whose money, taxes. I'm paying taxes in Liberia. I ain't got no business there like y'all, Mr. Give me to pay taxes, and I'm a tax money they're wasting. That their tax money, let them die. If they're not willing to exercise their Article 1 rights and tell this government and these bunch of criminals in our legislature that this is enough, you need to stop this nonsense, let them die. Because they don't want that. Me and I'm there. Right? We can go there from time to time, like, you know, Mr. Ismail, that if you don't enjoy yourself, we came back. We can go enjoy ourselves and come back. They're the one on the ground. They're the ones suffering the consequences of this mess. If the Liberian people cannot exercise their Article 1 rights, I ain't come and get high blood pressure for them. What the majority bloc is doing clearly highlights how limited their brains are, because they're telling the court is illegitimate, they're telling the court is overreaching, and then they're going back to the same court to say, oh, we want you to re-argue the thing that we say you don't have the power to argue. That don't make sense.
Before I go to Anthony, Jimmy Eastman, I know you and I've been around this block a few times in the diplomatic circle, political circle. I've never heard anything called re-argument. What is it in our Constitution, in our jurisprudence, re-argument? I mean, after the Supreme Court rules, when the law says they're ruled, eh?
I think you had to about question on re-argument thing from me.
Yeah, I'm telling you now, Mr. Eastman, this re-argument thing, is it constitution? Is it where have you ever heard about this in our jurisprudence? I never heard that the Supreme Court made a final decision, and they said go and re-argue, and then how many finals can you get? You are muted, that Jimmy, you muted.
Yeah, this case has been teaching me a lot of things about jurisprudence, Liberian jurisprudence that I didn't know before. Ultravirus, REAG, all kinds of stuff we're learning every day in the people place here. But the funny part about it, I think they're not in being honest to themselves. You know, I've heard the argument that how can they reverse? People have been taking pay. People have been, cashing in on this illegal budget, so to speak, since that the speaker did not have the authority to approve such a budget. But that is not a difficulty. Look, all the money that has been spent this year from that budget, when you do, if you should call this speaker back in and you want to even go to the extent of revising the whole budget or building in a new budget, you can deduct that which has been taken out up to this point. You can deduct it from there. So it's not a problem going back, and people are saying, it can't be, how can you go back? It's easy. All you do is say, okay, we took $1 million from the budget for House of Legislature members. So far we've used 1 million. This newly approved budget, we'll take that 1 million out of there. It can be done. That's simple accounting. To tell you the truth, any accountant worth their salt will tell you that's not difficult to do. You just take it from a different appropriation, But what is the issue is there is a lot of sheen, the fact that you will now have to dissolve this speakership and start anew. I think that's the only way to go. I think it's the only fair thing to do, and I believe if we get through with this crisis, we would have matured a lot. Our young democracy would have survived, a very chaotic situation, and it is a testament to the Liberian people of their resolve to be democratic. You were talking about Bassa the other day earlier, and he said this is one county that you can't tell somebody to vote for somebody because they Bassa, because that's not going to fly, because that's the maturity of the people. That's their mindset, that's their intellect. They've been doing this a long time, and it's not enough for you to tell me, say, the man come from my village, I'm gonna vote for him. I ask you, say, well, what has he done? Well, do you know this man? That's the first question I ask you. Do you know him? It does not suffice that he's from the same village. I will ask you, do you know him? So, and this is the maturity we have to exhibit throughout Liberia. If someone tells you, vote for the man because he's from our village, they say, do you know him? What if this man's a criminal? What if this man's a killer? What if this man wants to annihilate our village? Have you not seen people go back to their own village and start doing wreaking havoc on their own people? So it's not enough. So I think it's a good surviving this chaos here will be a good maturity for us, and it should have been nipped in the bud. When they I spoke the other day when they could not settle this issue. In other words, it would have led to a government shutdown. Well, that is the course. The course is if you can't resolve this issue, the government will shut down. Haven't we not seen the government shut down in the USA? Yes. That is the course you follow. But trying to avert that course by supplanting your own speaker, that's not democracy. And it's come back and bit us.
Thank you. Mr. Tao, before I go to Mr. Gay here, here we are. I read something from one of the ANC members. She said it. She says it's like a mother with two kids, and they're fighting, and they both go to their mom and say, now Councilor Yakula, she says, you go to your mom, you say, "Ma, me and my brother fighting, please cut the flower, please settle this." And the mother listens to both and instead you say, "Oh, you wrong, you right, go apologize to your brother." And then you tell your mom, "Man, you stupid. I won't listen to you." Then few minutes when you and the person get in a fight, you come to your mom and say, "Ma, can you judge the flower again so I can be right this time?" And then she will tell you, "You stupid." That's exactly where we are. Mr. Taiwo, these children have told their mother, the Supreme Court, that she is stupid, she's out of bounds, she has no right to do what she did. And she said, "Fine." And I told my own, go tell your own. Then you turn around, come back and say, "Can you rejudge the flower so I can be right this time?" Your take on that analogy?
Yeah, your analogy is good, but unless for me, I won't compare the Supreme Court to a mother, because a mother would be a little bit sensible, not that deceptive. Because the Supreme Court, we should mention it, we should call them out. They were deceptive in this particular case from the beginning. When did the Supreme Court know that the so-called majority bloc was wrong and they shouldn't have tried to convene or do anything? They knew this. They were deceptive because they wanted that budget. Let us call them out, and they lost credibility on this. So they created this mess. They should have been very clear from the beginning. They came over there, they confused everything. They had the budget to pass. They received what they needed to get. Then they sat and they said, "Oh," then the Chief Justice came out and issued some stuff because she's about to retire. Now they went back. If the Supreme Court rule and it's supposed to be final, according to the Constitution, why did they go back for them to re-rule? And so it's going to keep going back and forth. So they really screw up in this stuff. This is why they have to be clear. But because there were conflict of interest in this stuff, and for me, that is where the problem is. So the rule, the budget passed, and the moment the budget passed and they received the money, they started trying to now war back stuff. Each person from the Supreme Court started issuing individual statements here and there, including the Chief Justice. I don't know if they got pressure from where, whether it's from the people or from somewhere else. Then they came back and they started doing this. But they made a mess of this. Forget about the fact that the executive is involved and leading the way. Because even here in the US, the executive push, and they're like that, the Supreme Court that's supposed to be the referee, that's supposed to actually clarify things. They didn't do justice on this. Okay? But let me point something out. For me, I said here from the beginning, right, that I really don't care much about the outcome of this stuff, or who, because at the end of the day, because I think for me, I don't want to lend any emotional stuff to this stuff, because at the end of the day, just one group of criminals being chosen over the other. So when they come to them and their interest with the crimes that they're committing against the nation in that legislature, all of a sudden the law means something. All of a sudden there is rule of law. But when it's for them to rob the people, for them to set their own salaries and their own benefits, then they don't care. Then they don't call the Labrampo to rally. So for me, I really don't care about the outcome, because at the end of the day, one crook is going to be in charge of it either way. It's not going to change anything. But look, Dr. Booty said here, real quick, let me just end with it. He said here, and a lot of people, not just in keep saying here, that the Labrampo people have themselves to blame. And if we understood really how the political system is set, the Labrampo people really have no power. That power that they have is only in name. There is nothing really the set of the system that is in there to record people. It's not straightforward. You can't record anybody if to say the people collect signature, and to record people, there is an independent body that they can then bring the signature to the record representative or senator or president. It don't work that way. You have to collect the signature. You have to bring it to them. They will have to vote on it for them to agree. So then the only other thing that the Labrampo left with is for them to do a mass uprising demonstration that then lead to maybe war. That is the political system we have.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
Let me have 10 seconds quickly to clarify, because Mr. Tao is misrepresenting what I'm trying to. What I'm not saying that people should rise up and cause mayhem. Look, we have No. Let me clarify now. I didn't interrupt you. Go on, interrupt you. You can say I shouldn't interrupt you. So don't. You wait. My time is wasting. Liberians had alternative in the last election. The Liberian people rejected the Unity Party in 2017 because they felt that they were corrupt. They had mismanaged the country. In 2023, you do not go back to the same people, right? That's what Article 1 powers are. You had alternatives. There was the ANC. There were other political parties. They went and picked the same criminals they rejected in 2017. The same people, no, not different. Baka was still head of the party. The same people were around. They say, oh no, 2017 we rejected you because you're bad, but 2023 we will not reject you again. That's the problem I'm talking about. That's where they should have exercised their power. Not that now they can do anything. They have to wait until election.
Great. Mr. Gay, you have a special interest in the re-argument case. The folks said the Supreme Court is useless. They trust the Supreme Court. And then all of a sudden, they turn right around and are appealing for an audience so they can Have you ever heard anything about re-argument when the Supreme Court make a final decision? It is a final after the final.
Look, these people are here to. All the Supreme Court will do is it will dismiss that case. They will not even give it a credence. And that's it. That all the Supreme Court can do to that particular thing. Not give it a credence because, first of all, it has to warrant. It has to worry. It has to meet the benchmark of worry to be looked into. The Supreme Court don't just go out there looking for cases to adjudicate. But when there is a circumstances, the Supreme Court will look into it. And if it warrant their time, then yes. If it's not anything of importance, Article 65 made it clear that decision is final and binding. It ain't just a final, it's a final and binding. It is not negotiable. We saw that 2004 in the great United States. Then Vice President Al Gore said he disagreed with the Supreme Court decision, but however, he respected the decision of the Supreme Court. Why his supporter was trying to demonstrate everything, he said, no, the Supreme Court had ruled. It is what it is. In as much as I don't like the decision, I respect the decision of the Supreme Court. Look, you may not want to hear this. That is not what you were anticipating. Granted, it is what it is now. Respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not say anything different than what they say now. They just use a different terminology. They said then that the action was deemed ultra-viral. You use an authority that it does not belong to you. You did something that is completely out of your control. You cannot have a parallel. Remember the interaction between the Chief Justice and the lead counsel of the majority black, Councilor Vernon Sherman. She's intentionally asked the question, where was the speaker? Where was the speaker? The speaker was at the Capitol building, in the chamber. She said, I don't care whether you have 100 members or 1,000 members. He was there. So we're not going to relitigate this case. It is done. Right now, the law is on the side of Fanatic Kofa, meaning like
okay.
With the majority black, even Senator Dillon is also on record. Most of the senators now getting together that they're going to work with Fanatic Kofa. This is just a matter of days. Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, you will see many of the things that we're talking right now will subside. And the country will start moving forward because guess what? The press conference today by the Unity Party clearly demonstrates the disregard of the rule of law. In order for democracy to exist, the rule of law is the major ingredient, is the guiding principles for democracy to exist. You can't profess democracy and be disrespectful to the rule of law. You can't talk about democracy void of the rule of law. Politics can never ever be practiced in the absence of the rule of law. I hear the cliche, oh, it's a political theater. Even in that theater, there are rules and regulators. The House is also have its rules that is subject to the Constitution of Liberia, because anything outside of the Constitution, in Article 2, it speaks about any act, any resolution, or creed that contravene the Constitution is not a void. So I don't know what is wasting their time, right? They are ashamed, they are embarrassed. Many of those guys today, they are on committees. Some of them are chair, some of them are co-chair on committees. All of those privileges will be taken away from them. That's what they don't want.
Thank you.
This whole argument is not about the Liberian people. It is about them being on committees. Fanatic Cover have already extended Olive Brown and said, okay, if that committee issue, we can rearrange the committee. That's not a big deal. If you still say you don't want, there's the argument they are making. And I want to end with the two aspects. Number one, the budget. Those people who went to work, they went to work and they got paid. The money that was paid to them was not a stolen money from somebody else's bank or somebody else's personal account. It was the government money that was paid to them. They earned their salary. Now, the act that passed, the process by which the budget was passed was corrupt process. That does not in any way, shape, or form say the money that was given to them was stealing money or was stolen money. So I don't know how they comprehend stuff. The act or the process by which the budget was passed was illegal. The man who putting himself as a speaker, he's illegal. He's not the speaker. That's what the Supreme Court ruled about.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Dukley, real quick here, we'll move on to the next phase here. We are talking about, I think Mr. Eastman talked about this ridiculous argument that Unity Party is making, that the Supreme Court should not have taken the money and all of that. That is a basis for some of the re-argument. But the Constitution also gave the Liberian government 1/12 of the budget to be used for emergency, that means for operation. So whether a government is there or the government is locked down, they have access to 1/12 of the total budget for operation purposes. So that makes this argument about re-argument about if you took the money, then you are illegal. I think somebody said that they were not sincere from day one. Your take on the re-argument, I don't know if there's such a thing in government called re-argument.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I won't profess to be one here. I got a graduate diploma in immigration and citizenship law of Canada. That's the closest I've gotten to law. But with that said, look, Mr. Gamer, this speaks to this reflects more on us as a nation, more so than the issue at the legislature. Look, it says the Supreme Court. Supreme simply means the highest, nothing above it. Plain and in plain and simple English. You don't have to be a lawyer to know this. And Article 65 is so clear, unambiguous. It says the finding of the judgment of the Supreme Court shall be final and binding, and shall not be subject to appeal or review by any other branch of government. Plain and simple. Full stop. There's no such thing as so. What it simply means here, the Supreme Court judgments are not appealable. You can't appeal them. You might not like them. You have to live with them. It's as simple as that. So this nonsense that the Unity Party is trying to create here is just a recipe for chaos and more chaos. Okay, and we've seen that. You see, you have to look at the thread of events that have occurred since this whole nonsense started. Horn was he competed against Kofa, and Kofa won and said that he had not accepted defeat. He has not agreed to the fact that he was defeated by Kofa. And again, Kofa as a person, Kofa is not it's not a guy who you can say he's a clean hand person, but the Constitution was clearly on his side. So, but you have to also remember that Horn was the handpicked candidate of the vice president, and he was supported by the vice president and the machinery of the ruling Unity Party. So don't be surprised when you saw all the illegalities that occurred prior to this ruling. One example that people always cite is always the budget. So thinking about it, if the budget was illegal, what else is there that is not illegal? Okay, so everything that you see in terms of illegality points to executive, because this is all they are making. So this nonsense that they are saying about reappeal, it just, I don't even think people should even dignify it, because it such doesn't exist. Like I said, brother, there was a gentleman, the brother that was just speaking before me, said it. You might not like the ruling, but you have to live by it. And he cited a very good example where Al Gore didn't like the ruling, but he had to live by it. That's how it is. So, and again, what is it about Article 65 that they don't understand? It's final and it's binding.
Thank you.
So all the nonsense they are saying that, again, I'm one of those who always say we are a nation of men and women and not a nation of law.
Thank you.
Mr. Gimmick, can I ask one quick question?
10 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So, Mr. Gay said here that the Supreme Court is not saying anything differently than what they said. That the so-called majority bloc was wrong and they were illegal and they were renegade and the budget and stuff like that. So, if the Supreme Court actually knew this, and if that's what they actually meant in the first ruling, that then they now clarifying, why then did they accept a budgetary allotment from an illegal group of people, renegade?
But we
Mr.
answered.
Gimmick, let me ask a question to Mr. Tao. So you're saying that the Supreme Court should stop their work because the legislature are doing something stupid? So they shouldn't adjudicate all of the private cases that come before them. They shouldn't adjudicate, because it's not just the Supreme Court, it's all of the local courts. All of the criminals that are in Liberia that they need to prosecute, we should stop prosecuting criminals because the legislature, the House of Representatives decided to do something illegal. So we must stop doing all of the work we're doing.
Yeah, no. For them to recognize the budget, it means then they recognize what that group that was the illegal group is doing.
Mr. Tower, you need to go and read the Constitution.
Mr. Tower, the Constitution.
I beg you, Mr. Tower, you need to read the Constitution. The Supreme Court cannot approve budget. The legislature appropriates, the executive approves. It's only the president that can approve budget. The Supreme Court ain't got no part to play in it. They can't come to the finance minister. The Supreme Court send their bill. This is the money we need to run. The finance minister pay it. The Supreme Court has no dealing in appropriation and approval of financials of the Liberian government. That the legislature and the executive, Supreme Court got nothing to do with it. Read our Constitution.
And most of your point, Dr. But someone has to challenge it.
But not only that, the Constitution allowed 1/12 of the total budget for operations, so anybody can use that to pay the bill. Now let's go to the president's response. This one, I have not had my hair wrapped around this one yet. When the president of the republic, who took, like someone said, maybe he can wiggle his way out of this to say he never put his hand up to say, I will protect and defend the Constitution, because he fainted before that part of it, so he could wiggle his way out. But the president said, and this is why I wrote on my page, I said the president has been held hostage. And he was basically reading a ransom note because his hand was shaking and he was fumbling the papers. He was inaudible. And one time they cut away and brought him back on. So you can tell that he's under the instruction of somebody else. But the president never accepted the finding or the ruling of the Supreme Court. Actually, he said, I acknowledge, as opposed to Fonati Kopa said, I accept the decision. Mr. Booty, you start off with this one, and then I'll go to Jimmy. The president response to this debacle, to me, actually made his position moot. And if we were in a civilized country, he would be, this is treasonable. Your take.
Well, I was on another show on Focus on Liberia on Thursday, and with Mr. J. Victor Nangbe and Mr. Morris, and they were both shocked that the president was acting lawless. And I'm like, I'm shocked that you guys are shocked, because both of you have been on point for a whole year, and we've all been talking about the lawlessness of this president. It started with asset recovery, undermining LACC and GAC, the Ministry of Justice, all of that. We talked about it. He started moving people from tenure positions at LTA and other places. We talked about it. He removed the central bank governor unlawfully when he's not entitled. It's only the legislature. We talked, and then you'll say you're surprised that he would not accept the decision of the Supreme Court. It's the same Supreme Court that ruled on LTA. It's the same Supreme Court that ruled on central bank, and he rejected all of those. So I wasn't surprised. Look, for me, I was against Joseph Boakai becoming president of Liberia from 2023. And now, sometimes we sit and think, as much as some of us don't appreciate President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, I, for one, don't, because of how she mismanaged our country. But I think she was right in 2017 when she told the Liberian people, you don't vote for the papier. Because this Joseph Boakai, I just had him near me because I didn't have anybody else I could use. And he was the most important person I could use. I think he was just there, like he said, like an old, people, sometimes leaders appoint people next to them just so that they can fill a vacancy, not because the person is capable of doing anything. And I believe that's what President Sirleaf did with Joseph Boakai, because he used to be her errand boy all her life, running around, picking her children up, dropping them off when they were in school. And that's basically what she brought him to do. And we've taken Ellen's errand boy and made him president of our country. And this is what you get when you take an errand boy and make him president. You get a complete mess of a country. You get idiots like Richard Kuhn walking around talking about can you look, Mr. Gaiman, I don't know whether you've sat down and thought about this, and it goes to everyone on the panel. Vani Sherman, in my opinion and my experience, is supposed to be one of the most experienced lawyers we've got in our country. This guy has been around for years, argued so many cases, mostly commercial. For a Vani Sherman to now go and stand before the Supreme Court, Liberian people can say with Drafe, and argue in favor of this mess, this nonsense. It tells you everything you need to know about what's going on. These guys care about one thing, and I agree with Mr. Tao on this point. These are a bunch of criminals. They want to steal from the Liberian people. They want to mismanage the money, and whatever they need to do, that's what they will do. And it's up to the Liberian people to not make the same mistake again. Because I sat there, we were on the show when the news broke, the Boakai tape, when it broke, we had to pause to listen to it. And I'm sat there and thinking, wow. But look, Mr. Gaiman, let me end on this. If the president said he wasn't the one who orchestrated this, when that budget left Richard Combs' office, in fact, no, when the budget left Gafuan or whomever office it left, and they sent it to the House of Representatives, he should have told them it must go to Fonati's office. I don't recognize Kuhn because Kuhn is not the legitimate speaker. When Kuhn go to Fonati's office and jack it from there and say I will sign it, because I don't want Kuhn did, but let's say Kuhn did that and sign it and send it to him, he's supposed to send it back. Say no, you're not Fonati. He had that other opportunity. He didn't do that. Now, when the Supreme Court, they say, okay, look, Papi will help you. They say Diba, I don't know who open it, Diba close it. Somebody now open it for you. The Supreme Court open it. Papi here go score. He missed the goal. He kicked the ball where to the corner flag. Now, the corner flag, he kicked it to. He saw the score. The whole goal empty. He kicked it to the corner because the Supreme Court could not have made it easier and simpler for him. This was the opportunity for him to say, you know what I mean? We try it, we fail. Like Mr. Douglas said, we tried to win, we lost. We tried to win illegally, we've lost again. Let's accept it, right? Let me be presidential for once and say, my people, the Supreme Court has spoken. We must abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. All business of the executive of the government of the Republic of Ghana must go through Fonati Kufa as the elected speaker until such a time that the right procedure can be followed and he is removed. In fact, you need to add that one. You can keep that one in your pocket for later on. But just say we'll go through Fonati. I can guarantee you, Mr. Gaiman, immediately Joseph Boakai said that, all of those guys will start falling in line.
Thank you. Mr. Eastman, let me play the devil's advocate here. You are muted, Mr. Eastman.
No, I totally agree with my friend.
1 minute. Mr. Eastman, let me lay the premise for you here before you come in. Joseph Boakai, let me play devil's advocate. Joseph Boakai, when you look at his speech, he said he will continue to do business with the quorum.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? We wake up on Tuesday and 5 guys cross over to Fonati Kofa, now Fonati got quorum. And Joseph Boakai said, I told y'all I was going to work with quorum. Is he being slick here? Because he didn't say I'm going to work with Koon, I'm going to work with Kofa. He said I'm going to work with the side with the quorum.
That's right.
Is this being slick here?
No.
Most people are not picking this up. Is it intentional or it was let's say like intended consequences?
You know, that's why I totally agree with Dr. Booty on many points he mentioned. He had an opportunity when they had completed the budget, when he left Gafon, and it was not clear cut who is speaker, who is not. That he should have told them, say, look, y'all will not get paid. You'll not get anything until you clear up this mess in the house. That's how he should have done it. But it may be that he had a bias he had a horse in that race. So he didn't want to appear that way. But that was a brilliant opportunity for him to tell us, say, look, either you get it together or none of you are getting paid. We would take pay. Just like you stipulated, we have an emergency budget. We can use 12% of it. His executive people could have been taking pay. Those projects and things that will be on hold, but these people will not be getting paid. They'll not be getting allowances. They will not be getting gas slips. They were going to straighten that thing a long time ago, but they didn't do it that way. They allowed this illegitimate speaker, not a properly elected speaker, to approve of the budget. But notwithstanding, I heard mention of Vonnie Sherman. Let me say, when Mr. Tahoe said that one group will go over another, Mr. Sherman, as astute as he may be, Harvard grad, whatnot, he sits in the Senate and is lawyer for the concession companies at the same time. So he's voting on concessions for the companies he's working for. Now, can anybody be more split in their support? How can you advocate? How can you be the advocate for a concession company and vote at the same time? Must you not recuse yourself? This is why he's on sanctions today. So the fact that he has great experience and great knowledge doesn't say anything about his code of ethics, his morality. Well, and this is what Liberians have to regard. We like to talk about book people.
But Mr. Eastman, real quick, let me interject. I got to be fair to Vonnie Sherman. Vonnie Sherman had a stroke, and they took half of his brains out. Do you think he's not whole?
I would not entertain that. A medical doctor has to give account for his health. I'm not in one position to do so.
But you recognize he had a stroke.
I'm not aware of his stroke, but
yes, yeah, but go ahead. He had a stroke, and he was flown out of there, and he had major surgery. But he was a crook before. Now his situation has hiding his crookedness. Yeah, go ahead.
The fact of the matter is, our people are not, they're so disingenuous. Just like Tao who was saying, how can you be on the Senate voting for concessions and advocate for these companies? You're on that board, you are being paid. And we all of them see it in the Senate. All of them look at it and they moo. They say nothing about it. We ain't got nobody representing us. Let's face it. We are at the peril of whatever sways those people tomorrow. But we have nobody defending us. We have no agency in that Senate. They do what they're there for themselves. So what do we do? You know, what do we do in our state? There's only one thing we can do besides just simply protest and sit down and whatnot. We have to stop electing people based on tribalism, based on who can give me money. Because as long as I have bribed you, I shut you more forever. I have bribed you. What can you tell me tomorrow if I'm not doing it? I say, remember that money I gave you? That kafu, you know? So Liberian people need to really take a look at themselves and decide that we want people who actually fight for us. And if we can't find anybody who will fight for us, don't elect anyone. Don't put anybody there until you find that person who can fight for you.
Great. Mr. Tao, 2 minutes on this one. The president responds by not accepting the verdict from the Supreme Court. He used a word cleverly saying he acknowledged. That is not what the Supreme Court decision is about. They didn't send you a letter. They didn't send you a word for you to say, okay, I acknowledge receipt. That is not it. The Constitution says their decisions are final and binding. It's a law. The president said he acknowledged their decision. Your take on this? We got 2 minutes.
Okay. So I will start where Mr. Eastman started and the point that Dr. Booty made, right? So when the budget left, got found the Ministry of Finance, the president, since they have 12% that they can be spending to the reserve stock, that is where he was supposed to maybe take the stand that he was supposed to take, right? But my question is, why is the president fighting so much to control both houses, to control the central bank, to control all these areas? Why? What is really the intention? To where I really don't think whether the budget passed through, whoever, it won't make a difference. They will still get a $45,000 car. They will still get all their benefits. So they fight for which the Liberian, if I should even say being punished, I don't know, because they're already on a punishment from these guys. It's an internal fight over who control which committee and who have this budget. And that's why it is, right? But look, that is a point I was going to make that point, but Mr. Gimme made a point. The president is standing on this, right, that he will work with quorum, right? You said it's nowhere in the Constitution. So he worked with quorum in the beginning. And like you said, he said he will work with quorum. So one person already moved over to Kofa's block from the block.
Yes.
One person already did that. Yes. So, like you said, we'll go to sleep tomorrow, wake up, and out of a certain, Konati have 46, and they have 45. And then let's see what he's going to do. But look, this stuff is a mess. It's a mess. To save face, it will be very difficult. The president is not somebody that wants to admit that maybe he made a mistake or he screwed up. I don't know if he's fully in charge or who them advising him, because this stuff is a security issue, right? You have the progressives, the people that boast about the progressives that they never took power and all of this stuff that it was Samuel do, you have two progressive. Samuel Kofi, who is a progressive, that's a security issue. I can plunge. He's there. Anthony Castle is a progressive. He is there. These are the people advising him, and you don't hear from them. So when somebody tell you that they want to tell the progressive story, the progressives are telling their own story. But they actually, Boakai is also a progressive too.
That's
so
correct.
This is their government in some instances, but it's a mess. They're not going to be able to save face. I don't know how they get out of it. I think the Supreme Court really should have clarified this stuff right in the beginning instead of using some word that then is stick. But it's going to be a mess. I don't know how they're going to get out of it. I guess what? You know, the president is imperial, right? The presidency. So I want to believe he will try to force it and drag it, like we're seeing here. The Supreme Court in the U.S. just ruled they arrested some U.S. citizens and people. They deported them to El Salvador without any kind of trial. The Supreme Court ruled here in the U.S. that everything that the Trump administration did was wrong. They need to bring that guy back. They said, man, we're not bringing him back. He's not on our jurisdiction anymore. We can't do anything. They ignore the Supreme Court right now as we speak, and the guy is still languishing in jail.
Excellent. Mr. Dugley, you take a shot at this. Your homeboy said he acknowledged the Supreme Court instead of accepting.
Well,
Your take.
the president was speaking with both sides of his mouth in this instant here. I mean, so that like the analogy you're talking about, how you talk about quorum instead of, I mean, so that when things go differently, he can claim to say, I said that the legally accepted speaker, who is Kofa, has a quorum, and so he was the one that I was referring to. So, that kind of a double talk. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think a lot of people now have seen the writing clearly on the wall on this particular issue. And I mean, if anyone who means well in this whole unnecessary and avoidable saga that we had, I mean, why don't you accept Kofa for what the Supreme Court said? And if you think you have the numbers, the 1/3 that is required by Constitution, and then remove him. It's as simple as that. I mean, if the people have no other ulterior motives, and which I think they all harbor ulterior motives, and they are just bent on making sure that Kofa is no longer the speaker, even though going through illegal means to do that, they couldn't care less. So these are people that are representing us. These are people that are supposed to be making our law. These are the people that are supposed to make sure that the country is safe in terms of the laws and regulations. And yet they are bent on making sure that the illegalities continue. And and again, this is all reinforced by the ineffective leadership we have in Joseph Walker and the men and women around him. Because, I mean, speaking with both sides of his mouth is not going to suffice to lay this issue to rest. And so the coming week tomorrow, the starting week tomorrow, get ready for another phase of this nonsense that has permeated this legislature for the last 6 months or more. And so even the Law and Order Caucus, we saw Dillon was one of the first people who came out and said the Supreme Court has spoken. So all the maneuver that Joseph Walker and his vice president are trying to play on us here is very, very obvious. And I really like Dr. Bodhi's layman analogy that he was using, that the layman can relate to. It's just as clear as it can be. So Joseph Walker can do all he wants. This is it's now going to be, all the thing that they've been hiding about Joseph Walker. This particular ruling is going to put it to bear where people will see right through him. And also we got what we voted for, and this is what we have to deal with.
Great. Dr. Booty, you can close on this, then we go to our last one, which will be what way forward. The president, some folks are saying he's so nonchalant, he's president now, he really doesn't care, he's living his best life, he is in his future, there's no more tomorrow for him. So he will leave it, whatever happens, he leave it with the next group of guys to take care of it, and he's having a great time, he cares less. So what is your take on that particular issue?
Oh, no, I think anyone who says that is correct. I think what this president is doing is trying to copy from the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf book. But the problem is because he's so inept, he doesn't even know how to do it properly, right? Because when Ellen came to power, she came to enrich her children, right? Ellen didn't come to steal money for herself. She came to make sure her children were set up for life, which she did do at the expense of the Liberian people. This president, I believe, is trying to do the same, but he just don't know. He doesn't have the capacity to do it with the kind of finesse that Ellen was able to do it with. And every time he tries something, because Ellen removed 2 speakers, right? Easily, So he just thought it in our cup of tea. Let me go try it too. He didn't know for Nati Kupana. Because Alex Tyler and Edwin Stone and that crew people there, you know for Nati that crew man with the people high. You can't just more like that, So that for him to look for speaker and another crew, he went and found crew speaker. And he tried to do it only he inside. And every time he tried to do things that Ellen did, it will just show to you that look, this guy is an errand boy trying to do, I'm not gonna lie. I'm starting sometimes since about the past 2 weeks, I'm starting to think, I mean, let's go bring the Congo people by, let them run the country. Because when they were running the country, at least we have respectability, right? On the international stage and everywhere, we were respected because these guys did things in a way that they would talk their team behind the scenes.
You've been traveling.
Let me be travelistic. I will be travelistic all the way. Allow me to be travelistic. Those boys ran the country in a way they would discuss. There was no Dedeklo watching Osa Benin. We never watched Dedeklo Osa, right? You cannot be asking. Mr. Kamen, these people are wasting millions and millions of dollars of the Liberian people and money on some inconsequential, non-binding seat on the Security Council. You're telling the world to give you the authority to set rules, law and order. But in your own backyard, you can't do law and order. Because that's the job of the Security Council, to make sure the world exists with this law and order. You won't sit in that classroom to tell people how to do law and order, but you can't do law and order in your back. Small little country, kini country like Liberia, you can't do law and order there. That on the international stage, you're able to do law and order. Seriously, Pape?
Listen,
man. Open goal.
We don't want to sit on the United Nations Council. We say non-voting member. We just want to sit there and look pretty. That's all we don't
Dr. Buddha, I would disagree with you on this one. How dare you even say that?
The vote means nothing.
I said I would strongly disagree with Dr. Buddha on this one. How dare he say such a thing? I mean,
say what?
To say that the Congo people should come back to rule Liberia. I mean,
no. I said no. I'm listening. No. At a time, Mr. Ducle, you cannot tell. You go back up until 1980. When did you ever see this kind of nonsense that we've seen under Doe? The kind of nonsense we saw under Taylor and Sirleaf and Weir, and now under this other inept person we have? When have you seen any of those things in those times?
It happened even in greater and most intense.
So give me, I said when I gave example
was murdered and everything.
Who was murdered?
A president was even killed.
By who?
So by them, amongst themselves.
Roy was arrested. Roy was put in prison. Roy tried to escape. He died.
Mr. Tao,
Roy to escape.
But I mean, to say because of all these examples you've cited, we should bring the Congo people back. I mean, it's just so insulting to our intelligence as non-Congo people. I mean, how?
It's not insulting because the native people, I'm a native man myself, but we've not done enough.
Listen,
I don't think. Let me chime in quickly. It's not a matter of
Jimmy, Eastman, 1 minute. Mr. Tao, can you answer this question?
Yes, Jimmy Gaga, this your big brother, Joseph Tao.
So call
Okay.
me.
Okay.
So Jimmy, I mean, Mr. Tower, you are AKA KGB. Okay,
KGB.
we got you.
With my man, the information coming small.
It coming
Listen,
from we got
it's
it.
not really about tribe. It's about one's ethics, what one believes, your beliefs, your ethics. That's what make who we are. I would
That's
never
right.
go. I would never agree for any group of people to be exemplar. I will agree for a set of behavior patterns, a set of values to be emulated. But everybody, everywhere, there's good and bad elements all over. But let's try to bring the better elements to the foresight, to leadership, so that we can have a better united country. That's
Okay,
that's how I
guys,
look.
let's go to our last piece here. I want you guys to dig deeper. Mr. Jimmy, you're the diplomat here. What is or should be our way forward?
As to with respect to the legislature, the House, or
Yes, I mean
which
the entire quagmire, because we are stuck here. We can't move anywhere until something breaks.
okay, because Supreme Court has said that what the current speaker is illegitimate. Virtually, he did not come to leadership the right way. It has to be, and anything that is not done legally is not done at all. That's the mantra for law. So it has to be redone. So in other words, Kofa has to sit there. They sit. They either have a new election, okay, and that budget thing I told you can be taken care of. The money that they've been spent, that's not a problem. But what has to happen? That they have to have a properly elected speaker, whether they want Kofa or not. But it has to be done in the proper way. And what I would do as the executive to make sure that this is straightened out, nobody gets no money until it's straightened out. Nobody. So they won't go for months. Eventually, they have to. Remember, they almost reached that point because the Senate didn't know what to do. They didn't have anybody to do. Eventually, the Senate was going to have to close down as well. Once the House is not there, the Senate cannot act in abstention of the House. So eventually, the Senate was going to close down. So this is the process that we've elected to follow. And this is what we'll go through. Next time, they would think twice before they do such a thing. That's what has to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Dugley. I am President Boykai. I'm in a quagmire. I'm between a rock and a hard place, and I come to you. Advise Mr. Boykai, how do we move forward from here?
Look, this is not something that requires hard thinking. If I was advising Joseph Boykai, he just has to be, as they would say here, he has to man up and accept that he lost this fight and acknowledge what we all know to be the right thing, the proper thing, and move on. It's as simple as that. But again, Mr. Gamer, remember, these people have ulterior motives in everything they do. And the motives is always to line up their pockets. Anything beyond that, they couldn't care less. So what you are talking about, what Jimmy is describing there, anyone who means well, we want to do that. Anybody who is well-intentioned and they want to do well for their country, they would do that. So, like I said earlier, and I think everybody on this panel can attest to this, Kofa is not a clean man either. Let's not forget that. He came to this speakership with lots of baggage, and one of those baggage was
Mr. Douglas. That's not why before the Supreme Court. We are not asking for who clean, who is not clean.
I know.
Supreme Court have ruled. How do we go forward?
That's what I said. So we have to put the point I was trying to make is that we have to put all of that aside and abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court because their judgment is binding. And so there's no if or but about it. That's it. It's as simple as that. If I was advising the president, that's what I would have told him. Listen, Mr. President, you have lost this battle. Just acknowledge the obvious that everybody has seen and everybody knows. Let's move on. It's as simple as that. But because of their ulterior motives, because of what they want to do, and they've already started. Jimmy, Mr. Gaiman, don't tell me that none of you on this panel don't know that money is changing hand as we speak right now. And so they are plotting their next move. They are not willing, they are not prepared to accept this ruling. And they are going to see to it that whatever agenda they have, they see it through.
Thank you.
So, but like Dr. Budi said, he is just dumb about going the way he is going about it, you know?
Thank
So,
you.
I mean, I can't say any more than I have.
Good. We are running out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, right after this show, we're going to have Focus on our Hour of Faith. We're going to have Iman Jenica Toure and our Islamic scholar Abu Dukle. And the host is going to be Dennis Jar right after this show. Mr. Tower, your way forward. 1 minute. Your way
my
forward.
way forward is that the president, the executive already declared their way forward. His way, the executive, because the executive, yeah, we all say we suspect that the executive behind this, but the executive is different from the legislature. So let us understand this for sure, though, that the Supreme Court rule and the legislature is making a decision. Now, what we say here is that some of us suggest that the executive can hold back the pay of these guys, but they can't directly get involved. The Supreme Court rule, and everybody heard it, right? So the legislature have to go back into their own house. And the president already said that, hey, I'm going to work with quorum. What do we want to say is quoted or not? So we say he should go ahead and recognize Fonati Kofa. And Fonati Kofa have only 40 people. Is he going to be able to conduct business? No. So he's now saying he's not recognizing nobody. He's just going to recognize quorum. So I think, yes, we are suspecting the president that the presidency is involved and the executive is involved, but we actually have to put the pressure on the legislature or the House of Representatives. It is this now the ball is in their court. We have to put this pressure on them so that they can clean this up, so that they can continue to steal the country's money no matter who is in power, so that all this stuff, the distraction can be gone. Because somebody said they're supposed to know. Mr. Dukle, you say here that I'm not a legal mind. No, you are a legal mind. The guys that are making law for you, what legal mind do they have? You have a governing system that lawmakers know nothing about law. These are some of the flaws in the democracy that I'm pointing out. How can people that write the law and the rules of the country, they're not even lawyers. They have no idea about legality, the legal aspect of things. We have to revisit some of these things.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Budi, our way forward, 1 minute.
At least you heard from Mr. Tower. One of the way forward is there should be a new requirement for being elected into the legislature. You must have a law degree. Right? You heard it from Mr. Tower directly. And I support that 100%. Look, here is the way forward for me. I was just consulting quickly. I'm not 100% sure how robust the data I'm looking at is, but according to the data I'm looking at, CDC has 25 members in the House. There are 19 independents. The Unity Party only has 11. Right? So the way forward has to be, and I know Mr. Gay, and I'm hoping he's listening, would mention he was happy that all the opposition parties came together. Well, the CDC has 25. Right? Mm-hmm. 25 of the representatives out of 73 as seditions, right? If you add the 19 independents to the 11 from the Unity Party, that's 30 representatives. That's at least 43 representatives that if all of the opposition parties come together and say, look, all of our representatives must fall in line with the Supreme Court, not only will Kofa have quorum, but you have the same number that Kun has or had before the one person defected, that he then running around acting as speaker for. Look, it's clear that there is too much money in the legislature, including the ones that are moving around now. Committee positions attract so much money, and these guys are all in it for their own pockets. The best way forward for Liberia And I'm going to propose this on a more general scale going forward. We need to find a way to take the salary setting, the budget setting, the allocation setting powers from the legislature. When I'm not talking about their appropriating powers, it's still their job to appropriate, but the person how their salaries is set, how their allowances is set should be taken away from them until we can get to a place where I gave you an example. In 2010, we had something in the UK called the expenses scandal, where a lot of MPs were claiming expenses that they were not entitled to. So they created a new commission that took the powers of setting MP salaries away from the parliament and gave it to an independent commission. So that commission now sets MP salaries so that MPs now cannot claim money that they're not entitled to claim because they are not setting their own. Until we can take that power away from the legislature, we will always have this problem. And that's what we need to propose going forward as progressives. We need to have an independent commission. If it means we need to talk to our international partners to stifle this Liberian government, take money away from them until they can pass a law that says there's this independent panel made of civil society representatives, made of members of the chiefs and elders, made of diaspora Liberians that can set the salary of the legislature and set it at low levels. Then the only people that will go in there will be people who go in there to do the business. Because if Mr. Eastman goes to Liberian, is happy to take 3,000 a month as a representative, we know he's going to do the Liberian job. Because 3,000 are not plenty of money, right?
Thank
If
you.
Mr. Tower say I will go be representative for 3,000, we know, yeah, he definitely going there to do the Liberian job because they're not plenty of money there. But if it stays at 7 and 15, then people are only going in there for the money and they will keep chasing money to the detriment of our country.
Thank you. Guys, right after this show, stay on our hour of faith. We are talking about the Islamic culture. If you have any question, you need to listen. This is great. I was hoping though that we are going to have one. We're going to have one imam, and we're going to have one rabbi, we're going to have one priest or one pastor, so we can go. I will be a royal rumble, and then we're going to have one Zoe on the other end, and then we got it all covered. But let's go to our closing here, Mr. Dukley. I know you have to come back here. Your 1 minute closing.
Well, I want to say thank you to all my fellow panelists. It was a great discussion. I think we exhausted most of what we had set out to exhaust. So, and thank you, Mr. Gaiman, for this opportunity. I think what we said on this forum today, I think is not any different from what is being said in Liberia. I've seen a couple of snippets of social media where people are saying most of the things we said on this platform today. So, like what I always say here, I hope somebody somewhere is watching us and is listening to what we say. And when we criticize, I think our criticism is constructive, and we all aim to see our country do well. And we hope that the leadership will listen to the people that they are leading, so that some of these things they are just so embarrassing for a nation as old as ours. So my hope and prayer is that this ruling of the Supreme Court must put to rest this whole dilemma we've had for the last several months. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We should not expect anything different from Wakai. The first year that we've seen is an indication of the remaining 5 years to come.
Thank you. Dr. Booty, I know you're away. I know it's almost past your bedtime. Tomorrow is back to work. But go ahead. We appreciate you being here. Your closing.
We do this for the love, right? And Mr. Eastman said at the start of the show, and that was before I think we came online. We were talking behind the scenes and talked about how great it is when we were back home in Liberia and how we enjoy it. And all of it, I was there in March for a friend's wedding, and I was only there for a week. On my way back, you start feeling bad. Even though my family live in the UK, you're coming back to your family and stuff like that. But because you're leaving home, you get this sense of wanting, right? And we come on here because we want this country to be better for all of us. for us in the diaspora and for our people who live in Liberia. It's unfortunate that our leaders are so greedy and so self-centered that they do not want to put the interests of the Liberian people first. This is an appeal to them, to try and do what is right. Every representative, if you already not collect your money, they give you the envelope, you eat the money already. You got to stay with Kun. You can go on the other side. You collect the money already. You don't have to stay there. You finish collecting that money, right? They bribe you. You took it, no problem. Nobody will catch you again. The 10,000 or the 20,000 you not eat it. They will not be you. Move, go back and fall in line. The Supreme Court. Look, this is a crucial matter. And I know people are more Ali than saying, and I don't want to give people credence, right? But for a member of the Liberian government to sit and say that they don't care, that disrespecting the rule of law will scare away investors, that should be frightening for every Liberian. But we still call on the legislature, the House of Representatives, and the senators as well, because they have a part to play in this. They had an opportunity to reject that budget when it came, but they didn't, right? Because they knew the process wasn't followed. They could have rejected it, they didn't. Now is the time. One or two of them have come out and said that they will respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. We expect that anything that comes from Representative Kuhn, procrastinating, falsifying whatever you think is his speaker, reject it and send it back to them. If it don't come from Kofa's office, we're not going to accept this. And let's see whether the House of Representatives support mine. But the political parties have started to meet. Let's hope that they can put pressure on their representatives to come together and fall in line. Just do the will of the Liberian people.
Thank you. Mr. Taiwo, 1 minute.
Yes, guys, thanks to my fellow panelists and to our viewers. And to my Peking, Jimmy Gaga from King Great Nawitan. Yeah, but look, I want to say something here, guys. I come here, I'm very passionate. My opinions are strong, and my positions, I'm very strong with it. But in no way, without disrespect or question anybody's credential, I know what it takes. Dr. Booty, I know you're a very young man. You are very smart. You guys are the future. If you see, like, if you and Mr. Morris, I was always kind of push on you because you guys are the future. And when I make some of these statements, I'm trying to make it that, look, we all travel abroad and we study, but the African culture is a very good culture. We have really good value systems in there. You guys who are the experts, who as a PhD, you guys write and your proposals and everything else, let's look in that area. So no, in no way will I question your credential and any of that stuff. So no. So if it came across that way, I'm sorry, I would never ever do that. Okay. But look, I like that Dr. Booty disagree with me on a lot of stuff, him and my brother Nangbe. You know why? Because they are jealous. My ideas are so good, and they want to say what say before they're ahead of them. So they turn around about set somebody or commit setting the salary for representative. Mr. Given, how long have I been saying that the system is bad? It must be changed. Must look at the area. They disagree with me since then. Now they are agreeing with me, so I'm happy. The one about so these are small this stuff. But look, we all come here, guys. There is no way we can run that country on somebody else's cultural forms and norms. We have to look within. Even if there is something in there that we don't like and we say we can, you guys are the experts that know how to do social stuff. You're elevated to that level. Let's say, okay, let's look at this. You know, this one was here. Let's see this one can work. Let us critique it. But that is the only way. We have to operate and draw from within our culture and our tradition in order for us to compete. We can't use the Chinese made one. We can't use the Western one. It don't mean that it can be something good that we can adapt from the West or from the Arabs or whatever. But we can't just take it and then leave it raw and shop it in there. We have to then shape it to where it works to our own interest and our own progress. That is all that I'm here, that I'm continuing to push.
Thank you. Honorable Eastman, take us out.
Yes, it's always a privilege to be on with you, gentlemen. And I like I advocate the same thing Mr. Booty, Dr. Booty said. We need to take some of these decisions that they are making. They can't determine their own salaries. There's something wrong, inherently wrong with this. That's why Mr. Tower said this system not good. They can't determine their own salaries, their own allowances. This has to be a separate body doing this. We can't allow them to do this to us. They have way too much advantage they are taking over us. We have to limit their power. We have to make them servants of the people and not the people servants to them. That has to be addressed. But also, I think we can take something from this, Mr. Gamer. This is refreshing to see that at least we still have autonomy in the Supreme Court. This was a bold decision. Sienna, you and her colleagues, I commend them. Sienna, your father will be very proud of you. You never spoil his money that he paid for your school fees. I know that. I know so many of them. Mr. Yo has so many children, and she is one of the excellent ones that you can see. This is refreshing. But remember now, I understand she wants to leave. She wants to retire. Who will replace her? A lot of what we see in the Western world, a lot of what we see every day in our dispensation is people trying to consolidate power. They're trying to control everything. And this is not new, and it's practiced all around. What is going to happen when Sienna retires? What's going to be the outcome of this? Are we going to cripple the Supreme Court so that the Supreme? One time when Dr. Mr. Ambassador Famulé was accused of treason, it's not because he did anything, but only because he had that communist book. You couldn't even have that book was banned in Liberia. But that man, being an intellectual, being a diplomat, of course, he was well read, and they had a conspiracy against him. He couldn't even be represented. No lawyer wouldn't even take up his case until Gaga Richardson took up his case. It was not until Torba came and pardoned Mr. Ambassador Famulé. We cannot allow people, the system, to shut our voices down. We are allowed to think. We are allowed to be. So this Supreme Court decision, as much as it showed autonomy, we have to be careful that they don't get shut down. That other voices are not muffed and silenced by people who want to have all power within themselves. And if we give them the chance, this will happen. So we got to fight.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's Sunday, 4 o'clock on the East Coast, it's On Point. And as always said, President George Weah, if you have the largest political party in Liberia and you have the most representatives and senators in the Senate, go and prevail upon your folks to come back home and give Fonati Kofa his quorum to run the country. And when he resigns, there will be new election, and CMC Musa Benete will be the next Speaker of the Republic of Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, as we always say, if it's Sunday, we are all Liberian, whether you like me or you don't like me. Victor Namwe, thank you very much. Stay on for our hour of faith. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn about the Sharia law. Let me read it here before we tune off. Sharia law, polygamy, role of women in Islam, human rights in Islam, blasphemy in Islam, jihad in Islam, terrorism in Islam, apostasy in Islam, Sunni versus Shia in Islam, Islamic Caliphate. Boy, they're going the whole, there's a doozy. So ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for that. As always, we say, we are all Liberian. You got it, Chief?
I'm looking. I come and get it right now, Chief.
We are Liberian.